Sarah Palin spent her weekend at the Tea Party convention in Nashville. And as always happens with the thriller from Wazilla, there is a lot to cover. So joining me to discuss the rogue's antics are Stephanie Miller, host of The Stephanie Miller Show, Ron Reagan, political commentator and son of former President Ronald Reagan, and Pamela Geller, founder, editor, and publisher of AtlasShrugs.com. Okay, first up, let's take a look at how Ms. Palin keeps her thoughts together.
Good, really. We've got to start reining in the spending. We have got to jumpstart these.
Oh, you know, we have it on good authority that her entire hand was covered with folksy catchphrases like, "You betcha, by golly, I'm only here for the money."
It looked like those little candy Valentine hearts.
Well, we have two closest shots of her hand. Look at her hand. Okay. See, you can see it from far away. She has crib notes, we used to call that when I was in school. Okay, let me start with Ron. Does she really need to be reminded to talk about taxes at a Tea Party convention? Because it basically said energy tax and lift American spirits. Like she had to remember this stuff.
Well, that's what's remarkable about this. If this was complicated statistics, if she was going to do a comparison of the GDP over the last few years or something, you could understand having some crib notes on the palm of your hand or somewhere else. But these are supposed to be her basic principles, which she apparently hasn't memorized enough to deal with without crib notes. Bless her heart, she never fails to amuse. You have to admit.
I know. Now let's listen to what she said about Obama, and then we'll move on.
Mm-hmm.
This is about the people, and it's bigger than any king or queen of a Tea Party, and it's a lot bigger than any charismatic guy with a teleprompter.
Okay, isn't that a little bit hypocritical? A telegraphic, what did she call him? A telegenic model? What did she say? I can't even keep his words in my head.
A guy with a teleprompter, yeah.
The guy is the President of the United States, Pam. I mean, even you have to admit it's a little bit disrespectful. He's not a quiz show host.
Well, Joy, let me see. First of all, I think it's so amusing how the left is crawling all over this like sort of maggots to dead meat when Obama can't go to the bathroom without a teleprompter. He goes into a classroom with a teleprompter.
Yeah, but that was not an interview. He does that in an interview. He doesn't have a prompter.
He's got
when
a
he
prompter.
gives a speech.
He's got a prompter when he's making the moves on the show.
By the way, that ass-kicking he gave the Republicans last week, he didn't have a teleprompter.
That's right. I don't think Lincoln had a teleprompter.
I don't know whose ass he was kicking, but it wasn't the Republicans.
Wait a second. Did Lincoln have a talk off the top of his head when he gave the Gettysburg Address?
He had notes. He had notes just like this, but she wrote it on her hand. So it's so mommy. The thing that I find so appalling is that the feminists, who should be attacking issues like honor killings and clitorectomies, they go after this woman. Why? What is it about this woman? And frankly, she best represents the American people that you hold in contempt. And that's where I think the left is making a huge mistake.
Ron, let me ask Ron, why do we pay attention to this woman? She has a point.
Well, indeed, and I think we do have to pay attention to her, unfortunately. It's sad that we have to pay attention to her because she's totally unqualified for high office.
Your father would love her.
Yeah.
Your father would love her.
First of all, his father didn't quit halfway through the term.
Neither did she.
I don't think my father would love her, actually.
She did not quit. The lower 48 needed her, and she heeded the call. She did not take the easy way out, and frankly, it was costing the state all kinds of...
No, Pam, she quit.
She did not quit.
When you leave the governorship halfway through your first term, it's called quitting.
She came to lead the next revolution.
Quit.
Ron.
Can I ask Ron a question?
Quit.
Why would your father not... I don't hear it from Ron. Why would your father not like this woman?
Because she doesn't have a thought in her head. That's why.
That's what they said about you.
My father knew what he stood for. You can agree with it or disagree with it. He knew what he stood for. He could explain what he stood for. He was conversant in domestic and foreign policy. She's neither. She can't explain where she stands on anything.
Your father would love her, and frankly, I don't think you can speak to your father because
have you ever met my father, Pam? Pam, did you ever meet my father?
Did you ever meet a thought of your father's?
Did you ever meet my father, Pam?
Did you ever meet a
Did you ever meet my father? I'm asking you a simple question, Pam. Did you meet my father?
And I'm saying
yes. You can't answer that because the answer is no.
It's really
Why don't you rely on somebody who knew him very well to tell you what he would think
with the offspring of the guy and say that you know more than she does.
The father.
Than he does.
He doesn't share the epistemology of the father. He doesn't have the nature of his father's knowledge. He has nothing in common with the father.
But he knows what his father would think rather than you. Let's get real.
But the thing is, someone who shares the father's thinking... Is Pam still
blathering about me and my father?
Yes, I am still blathering.
Listen, Ron, let me...
You still haven't met him, though, right? You still didn't know him.
You never met him either.
You're just sort of making
No,
this
you
up
never
as
met him.
go along.
Do you think you're
Kids.
making your father proud? Do you really think you're making your father proud?
Oh, Pam.
Listen, I can understand
That's
you taking...
such a sad little
Pam,
thing,
I know.
Pam.
Let's get back
Pam,
to-
well,
let's
I'll tell
get
you
back
what,
to
Pam.
Pam.
Why don't I
Okay.
leave
Can
your
I-
parents out of this, and you can leave my parents
you
out of
can't.
this.
Bring my
since
parents in.
Neither
They were
one of us knows each
delicious
other's parents.
They were
Pam.
delicious
Okay,
conservatives.
let me jump in here.
Sorry.
Let me try to.
There you go,
She's never going to have more.
Ron, thank you. Let me
Go
try
ahead,
to break
Steph.
the tension here. First
Yeah.
of all, her parents aren't proud because she just said clitorectomy on TV, and I was not told we could say
It is
clit.
shocking.
However, you know, and
But girls can suffer from it, but we can't talk about it. It can be rampant across the world.
listen, I have something to say if you don't mind. However, I get nervous on TV, and all the answers your producers wrote have melted. So now,
All right, let's talk about Palin and Limbaugh using the R word. Look at this.
Rush Limbaugh was using satire to bring attention to what this politically
the R
correct...
word.
Using satire.
Okay, why is she calling Limbaugh's use of the word retard satirical, but when Rahm Emanuel uses it, she goes off the wall? And he was in a closed-door meeting, P.S.
because she's a big fat hypocrite, that's why.
Okay, she is addressing Rahm Emanuel, who called a bunch of liberals effing retards.
Right.
Rush Limbaugh said it 40 times.
Rush
Come
Limbaugh
on.
was addressing the story. He was addressing the
So
story.
you need to say it 40
and
times.
unlike the left, we don't walk in lockstep. No, Rush had a different opinion of it, and he expressed it. We don't beat
The
each other
left
up.
doesn't walk in
Sarah
lockstep
Palin
either.
could not
Totally.
define
Baloney.
satire, okay? If you asked Sarah Palin what satire meant, she couldn't tell you, I'm pretty sure.
She is a walking, talking gaffe machine, the woman. Remember the McCain visor where she crossed out his name? The rambling,
what's
quitting.
the mistake there? You can't cite one time that you call her an idiot, you have no backup.
Wait,
It's
what about
purely
the time
ad
that
hominem attack.
turkeys were being destroyed behind her and she didn't even know it?
Yeah, because she lives
Stay
in-
right where
she-
you are. We'll be
she
back
lives
in a
the
minute with
wild.
my panel. This is hot. I'm back with my panel. In an interview with Chris Wallace on Fox News, Sarah Palin had this to say about a possible run for the White House.
Why wouldn't you run for president?
I would if I believe that that is the right thing to do for our country and for the Palin family. Certainly, I would do so.
Okay, she may not want to close the door, but I'd like to nail it shut, frankly. But
Can you write the whole State of the Union on your hand?
oh, I don't know. Ron, what do you think of
and
the
how
likelihood?
14 years old? Like, she's gotten a Facebook fight with Rahm Emanuel. She writes the answers on her hand. What is she going to use, a cootie catcher at the State of the Union?
The cootie catcher. Ron,
Energy.
what do you think the likelihood of her running is going? What do you think about that? And where will Alec Baldwin move to when that happens?
I don't know, Rwanda or something. Yeah, she's going to run, or at least she's going to talk about running, because if she stops talking about running, the game is over. The only fascination with Sarah Palin really is as a presidential prospect. As soon as she takes that off the table, people start going, oh, another person with no thought in her head.
But could she possibly win, Pam?
Yes,
No.
she
Let's hear
absolutely
this
could.
from the other side. Because
She absolutely could.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about Sarah Palin is that she shows the contempt that the elites have for the American people.
you're in the elite.
I am not in the elite.
just
I
you're a
absolutely-
New Yorker. She
I am-
doesn't even think
I am
we're
absolutely not-
Americans.
no, I think she doesn't even think. You see, this is an ad hominem attack for no reason.
It's not an ad hominem
Yeah,
attack.
she doesn't think I'm
she
an
said
American.
that the real America. Who is she talking about? The real America, not about me. I'll
No,
tell you right
no,
now.
Joy, you're not the real America.
Not according to Sarah Palin.
You're not the
By
real
the way,
America. It's everything in
ask
between.
your friend Sarah Palin what ad hominem means.
You see what I mean? Ha 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 ha. This is every time you do this, you build up her base. Every
That's
time you
true.
do it, you're making fun of
I
the
agree
American
with
people.
that.
And I gotta
Her
tell you
base
something,
doesn't need any
we are
building,
not
Pam.
gonna tell you
She's
the
got about
American
20% of the United
it's
States.
contemptuous, and the American people know it. The more you make fun of those Tea Partiers, the more you're making fun of your mother and your father. You're making fun of me. And I got to tell you something.
My mother
you
never
have,
drank a glass of
Excuse
tea
me,
in her
Pam?
life.
Excuse me?
listen, Ron, we heard you. We heard you. You have to
My
you can
parents, let me
speak.
tell you about
Yeah,
my parents. My parents,
I'd lighten up on
I
that,
come
Pam,
from a
if I were
working
you.
class family, right?
Okay.
Those people needed unemployment insurance. They needed to have relief during my grandmother's day. These people needed help from the government. She says this is contemptuous when people ask for help. I don't like that. That is not American as far as I'm
you're
concerned.
right. You're right. It's not American asking for
So
help.
don't say that
This
that we
country-
And how
insult the
much money
American
from the
people.
lower
Can I
48
say
does the
something?
state of
I
Alaska
want to say
get,
something.
Pam?
This country was based, it's the first moral government in the history of man. It's the most magnificent experiment in human history.
Yeah, so?
Based on individual rights and rugged individualism.
Which is why we can listen
rugged
to it
individualism.
Is that why we send so much money from the lower 48 up to Alaska? Because of their rugged individualism?
Yeah, and in return they send oil.
She can call the new budget generational theft, and she took $100 grand from these poor bastards.
And she gave it right back.
She gave it back to her
I'm
back.
sitting here with you, and you have not said anything of any substance, anything, any argument against this woman. You just dislike her. She is truly the postmodern woman, a mom of 5 children, a mayor, PTA,
Who knows nothing about foreign policy or domestic policy.
He's a
Yes,
typical
absolutely.
liberal. He does not let people talk.
You have not shut up.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
a quick
you.
programming note. Tune in tomorrow night when I chat with Jenny Sanford. Oh, yeah. But up next, we'll find out if Tiger Woods is back on the prowl. Yes, America wants to know.